Between the two of them, the inside of Coates, Barker gets too heavily involved. And that's Whitehead and Coates.
Hello everyone and welcome to the AOC Gaming League of Champions powered by VRRC Mini JCW finale. Here, if you don't already recognise the track that's zooming across your screen in the background, is it the wonderful, iconic, brilliant Brands Hatch GP circuit. My name is Jack Oliphant. I'm joined in the virtual commentary box as per usual, as always, the fantastic and enigmatic Dave Marshall. Dave, how the devil are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Jack. And as you said, Brands GP, it is one of my favourite. A track really of two very different parts. Tight, twisty beginning section, which, let's face it, the ballast is probably not going to play a huge part in. And then that nice, fast, flowy back section, which, as any driver, once you hook that back section up, it feels mega.
A track like no other in the world, and that's why people absolutely adore it. You won't find another corner on another track that's anything similar to any of the corners on Brands Hatch. Two 20-minute races, first one being qualifying base, second one being a reverse grid top 10. That always throws some spice into the mix as well. We can't wait to get to that. However, we got a lot of things to get to before we even get into the qualifying. So first of all, what on earth is the finale of the Mini JCW? Well, you can see the Mini JCW cars on your screen right there with the massive fixed setup letters underneath its fixed setup. Obviously, they can change a few things, brake bias here and there and everything like that, but not too many. As you can see, Brands Hatch, the finale, we've had Hockenheim, we've had Nürburgring, Laguna Seca, and Brands Hatch. It's been absolutely awesome. And the mini JCW makes up the bigger picture, the finale of the bigger picture of the League of Champions as well. We had the Ginetta Super Cup, the Touring Cars, the GT4 Sprint, and of course, the minis on at the moment. But this isn't the end of the League of Champions. There is a finale to get to, but we'll get to that in a second. Don't jump ahead of yourself. £20,000 worth of prize funds. Dave, I think you can talk us through what on earth is on offer for the drivers who take part in any of the series and the finales.
Yes, I can't quite believe it. £20,000 prize fund. Each of them individual championships you just saw on screen, that is your first place prize. One of our SR5 SimRace 5 chassis. Second place is one of our SimRace 3 chassis. And then third place prize is one of our fantastic GT F1 seats that goes from an upright GT position into an F1 laid back position, literally just moving a few bolts in the bottom of the seat and side mounts. Then from 4th all the way back to 8th place, we've got our membership packages, which offers discount in store and entries into different championships and certain credit packages. So honestly, Jack, this is a fantastic opportunity. Even if you enter, you've got a real good chance of coming away with something.
Absolutely, yeah. I've been commentating for 18 months and with you on the League of Champions for approximately 20 rounds. I still get mistaken for my brother. It's unbelievable. Anyway, a driver of the round can still win some another prize and sets of headphones. I mean, who doesn't want a free set of headphones supplied by AOC, our fantastic partners? You may have seen their trailer at the beginning and in the upcoming, before race 1, I believe we do it. Driver of the round, they get a lovely set of headphones here, and that is available to anybody who really catches our eye, doesn't it, Dave? Anybody, not necessarily someone who is the ultimate fast driver, although it sometimes is. It's just sometimes that catches our eye and really surprises us or entertains us.
Yeah, so last time out at Laguna Seca, it was so close trying to choose from someone. Andy Carroll, a phenomenal drive, showing the real pace he had, but it was Chris Shepard just pipping him to drive of the round. Super consistent driver, brilliant racecraft, getting through that grid and finishing a fantastic double podium. So Chris Shepard, a more than worthy winner of last time out.
He was, and Laguna Seca, there we go, came out and seeing Dan Zelos taking home the most amount of points, followed by Chris Shepard, and then Jordan Brennan in third place. And I tell you what, Dave, that has lined the championship to a T. I can't seem to get my words out today, but Jordan Brennan on top with 86 points in hand. Dan Zelos in second place with 82, just 4 points in it. Jack McIntyre just shy of the 80 mark in third place. He's got 79. Then you've got the real closest battle here. It's fourth place down to 7th. It's separated by 2 points. Chris Shepard in 76, Callum Newsham on 75. Then Ryan Elliott and Scott Bugner actually tied for 6th place on 74 points. However, I know Scott Bugner is the happier of the two drivers, isn't he? Because he's categorized as 7th place, meaning he takes less weight than Ryan Elliott, who's got 30 kilograms on board, even though they have the same points. Then you got Andy Dorman, who's in 8th place, and rounding out the weight for 8, saying 80 kilograms down to 10. But as you'll see when we go into qualifying, Dave, you already know this, obviously, there have been weight reductions, but we'll explain that as we go forward. You can see that 11th down to 18th as well, Mick Sutton down to Josh Martin. Plenty of drivers here today to finish off this series finale. So before we get going, let's have a look at what is Brands Hatch in a mini JCW, a lap by Dave Marshall.
Across the line for the last round and the last race of League of Champions here at Brands GP, and what a finale. Into turn 1, 4th gear, you can see just catching the curb a little bit, lighting that diff up, braking hard under the bridge, down into Druids, 2nd gear. See, just trying to get on the throttle as early as I can without it pushing too far wide. Down to Grey Mill Bend, great corner, just pitch it in on that nose, feel the back end rotate a little bit there. Now, down towards Surtees, instead of the fast left right, it's GP loop, so it's tight up left, spot that late apex and get the best drive possible all the way down the straight. This is a brilliant opportunity for any overtake. We'll see a bit of that slipstream and the ballast play a real part come the race. down towards Hawthorne here. Really tricky corner, 5th gear, trying to pitch in, carry as much speed as possible through the apex, through to Westfield, looking for that apex point. It's in, across the grass, nice and early, trying to keep the lap legal, but also open up as much as possible. Now, really tricky set of corners, completely blind apex, throwing it in. See, we get a little bit too high there, but still carry good speed into Stirling to left-hander, 3rd gear. On the power, run it as far wide as possible. Such an action-packed track. This is an excellent track to drive. Into the last corner, 4th gear, taking a lot of the apex, trying not to get any form of bounce on the power super early and all on towards the line. Make sure you tune in from 7:15 on Tuesday night on our VRRC Facebook and YouTube platforms.
A stunning lap there, supplied by my co-commentator Dave Marshall of the Mini, going round the beautiful Brands Hatch GP circuit as well. A track that a lot of these guys are getting on with now, qualifying 12 minutes to go. They've already had 3 minutes. They're starting to get a rough representative time out there. Brad Smith currently top of the timings, but you got Jordan Brennan, Riley Elliott, Chris Shepard, Jack Mack, Paul Laramie, Dan Zelos, Scott Bugner, Dorman and Carroll, but expect that to be mixed up a bit, Dave. I would say, I mean, we were looking at Jordan Brennan. He was very fast in practice, wasn't he? But at the moment, Ryan Elliott is probably going to be the most likely driver to put it on pole position just for the practice times and how impressed you were with him.
Yeah, so already you can see there, I believe it was an invalid time, but that was a 35.6 by Ryan Elliott. So Ryan's got the pace in the car. He just needs to make sure that lap is valid and not exceeding track limits. So, yeah, Ryan is going very, very quick indeed. If I'm honest, I expect to see Ryan at the top of today. Looking at the practice times and looking at the consistency in the car, I wouldn't be surprised to see him pole. But it's second down over. I think I was saying just before we went live, Jack, that it was separated by 500 between 2nd and 5th place. So, honestly, it is anyone's guess what the finishing position of these top 5 is going to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, if anybody has watched the League of Champions finale before, i.e. the Ginettas or the Touring Cars or the GT4 Sprint, you'll sort of get an understanding of how the finales go down now. Basically, the first race, we just treat like a normal race. You know, we'll just get on with it. We won't really think about the overall championship too much. We'll mention it a couple of times. We won't think about it too much and try and do all the maths because our system updates the maths whilst in between race 1 and 2. So as soon as race 1 is done, the system will update all the points. There's no point us guessing. However, race 2, Dave Marshall gets his calculator out and he starts trying to calculate who is potentially going to be winning, because race 2, the reverse grid race, Dave, it's so amazing to watch and be a part of in terms of the commentary, isn't it? I'm sure it's exciting to be part of as a driver, but when you add the championship into the mix as well and all the maths that you have to do along with it, it becomes a mind-boggling situation.
Yeah, it really does, and I'm sure Rich, the race director, would be pleased not. I've cleaned my whiteboard just to the left of me, so I'm going to be trying to keep up with it. But as we've seen, Jack, from the previous races, the grid positions move around so frequently, corner to corner, not lap by lap, that realistically it's going to be a bit of an endless task to try and work out who is going to be where. But we'll give it a good shot. We'll give it a good shot. Well, I'm sure Tom will be giving us a good hand as well on the broadcast as well.
Yeah, that's true, actually. He did a good job, didn't he, at the GT4s? So he'll be doing the cameras and the calculations, potentially. We'll obviously be trying to give you updates throughout the session on who to be looking out for. We said about the weight for 8 earlier on. Well, there have been some weight adjustments, and we'll explain how this has come about in a couple of minutes. Basically, people have redeemed points to get rid of some of their weight. So Jordan Brennan, top of the championship order at the moment with 86 points. That means in theory he should have 80 kilos on board. However, he only has 40. He's got half of the weight. So the table I'm about to give you now is the weight and how much weight everybody has on board. So Jordan Brennan, 40 kilograms of ballast on board. Dan Zelos, 35 kilograms of ballast. Jack McIntyre, 30. Chris Shepard has 25. Callum Newsham has 20. Ryan Elliott, now this is one of the important ones, because you can see he's on pole position at the moment. Ryan Elliott has 15 kilograms on board. So if you're talking between him and Jordan Brennan, then there's a massive difference, even though this weight reduction has been taken into account. Scott Bugner has 10 kilograms, and Andy Dorman is, I think, the only driver who hasn't taken any weight out of his car, only because he's got 10 kilograms of ballast on board. Now, Dave, explain to us why this can happen. Explain to us like how Jordan Brennan has gone from 80 kilograms down to 40.
Yeah, so basically when you sign up for League of Champions, we've got something called VRRC credits, and in that championship you can use a 25% and a 50% weight reduction using them VRRC credits that you have. So it's basically as simple as the fact of all the drivers have left it till the very last round before they take the big chunk of weight out. And interestingly enough, I think a few of these drivers have been holding back on the actual times that do. We saw Chris Shepard was surprisingly off-pace in all of practice, and then as soon as he's come into qualifying, he's put a 35.9 on the board. That's nearly half a second faster than when we saw him in all of time practice. So I think there's a few drivers being a bit sneaky here and not showing all the cards straight away.
That's quite impressive, really, to be not showing your car straight away. Because didn't you say that you'd done over 100 laps, and all of a sudden he's decided to go
150 laps? Yeah.
150 laps, sandbagging for 150. I'd get bored after 15, I'll be honest. It's quite surprising that he's done that many if he was sandbagging. But you're absolutely right, he is going very quick now. Although we only saw a couple of people in the 35s, now we've got 4 people: Ryan Elliott, Scott Bugner, Callum Newsham, and Chris Shepard. And I remember seeing on the YouTube chat just a couple of moments ago, I think Tom Lees expect a big result from Scott Bugner today. So
yeah.
Tom Lees is backing Scott, backing his mate to see if he can pull out something special. And considering Scott Bugner all the way down in 7th place, he needs something special, doesn't he, really, to try and trouble the likes of Jack Mack. But he came 3rd in the GT4 Sprint Cup. He's already got his GTF1 seat. He's quite keen to try and secure himself a sim race 5 or 3, isn't he? But it's going to have to be a tall order to get there.
Yeah, I mean, I shouldn't probably say this, but for all them prizes, a great incentive to try and win. Any driver on the grid wants to win a race. You know that better than anyone, Jack.
Oh, yeah.
Regardless of the prize, you want to go out there and do as well as you can. And actually, Scott Bugner currently sat in a great position here in qualifying, showing he's got some serious pace on the back of Ryan Elliott there. Remember, slightly less weight than Ryan as well, but on tie points in the championship. So Scott is in a really good power play here, but he's got the likes of Newsham tucked in right behind him, and we've seen Newsham off the start. Newsham can make up some serious places.
He absolutely can, and Newsham has been one of those drivers that it's just time after time, doesn't matter what series we've put on here for the last couple of months, he's just been straight up unlucky, hasn't he? He's been battered and bruised in every single, and I have to say, a lot of the time you might see a driver that gets battered and bruised and you think, oh, they're putting themselves in dodgy situations, or oh, it's their own fault sort of thing. I think I've seen Callum Newsham be involved in about 10 incidents, I would say 2 of which he's maybe at fault for. So he's just in the wrong place at the wrong time too many times, isn't he?
Yeah, so actually, interesting you say that. Callum got in touch with us after the last race, and he's had quite a lot of problems with his internet connection. You know, this is obviously a problem that you get in sim racing, unlike in the real life. In real life, you get things like gearbox problems and engine issues. In sim racing, you get PC and internet issues. And, you know, he had this recurring issue where, even though it was saying his connection was very, very good, he would have what's called lag spikes, where basically the server and other people racing around him don't strictly know where he is. Basically, turns out his PC, right at crucial moments during the race, was trying to back itself up and upload to itself to a Google Drive. So I went onto his PC last week, turned it all off, so hopefully there should be no more lag spikes from Callum, and that should be problem solved, and hopefully he will get the results that actually he is capable of getting.
Yeah, well, fingers crossed for that for sure. Sometimes we do see a couple of drivers, don't we, with those big lag spikes. I mean, Andy Dorman has been a culprit for that a couple of times. I'm actually looking at Ryan Elliott's ping at the moment, and it's a touch high. I wouldn't say it's high, you know, he's not in any danger, but it's a touch higher than it is usually. So might have to keep an eye out for Ryan Elliott in case that spikes. But at the moment, we have to keep an eye out for Ryan Elliott because he's top of the timing tower, isn't he? Here is Nicky Taylor. Now, I think Nicky Taylor has had a couple of issues going back to the pits and whatnot and spawning and just going straight on. And I'm not entirely sure what's happened to him there, but
I think
maybe he has a connection issue. Yeah, that is a perfect
of a lag
example.
spike. Yeah. So I think that was a perfect example of a lag spike. But as you said, Ryan Elliott, in a scenario where, you know, yes, he has got these internet issues slightly. I think that's basically because he lives very remote in the middle of nowhere and doesn't have particularly the best internet. But he is in first place, and he's in a scenario where if he can get a really good start, that might not be an issue at all, and he'll be away down that road.
That's what I'll be hoping for. That's what all these drivers are hoping for in race number 1, of course, though, isn't it? A nice clean start and get away down the road. It tends to be a little bit cleaner than race 2, obviously, with that reverse grid. Race 1, all you're really looking to do is secure those points, isn't it? You don't want to get too mixed up with who's where or what points are securing here. You just want to make sure that you're in with a good fight and a good opportunity for race 2. And as long as you can secure that, you're on for a half decent evening's work. So Scott Bugner still just less than a tenth of a second behind pole sitter Ryan Elliott. Then you got Callum Newsham equally just under half a tenth behind Scott Bugner in third place. Chris Shepard in fourth, Jack Mack in fifth. Jordan Brennan sixth, Nicky Taylor in seventh, Dan Zelos, Andy Carroll and Andy Dorman with that 10 kilograms of ballast on board. Not going as strong as maybe he showed over in the earlier rounds. And Dorman really needs to get his act together if he wants to try and push on in the championship.
Yeah, exactly. We're just looking at the timing screens. This is looking actually like a very quick lap from Zelos, and he needs this. He's sat in 8th place at the moment. To keep this championship hope alive, he really needs to put himself really above Chris Shepard and trying to really fight for them top podium positions. So as he comes across the line, is it going to be enough? It isn't. So slow last sector, he does beat his time, but it's not enough for him to challenge the back of Brennan. He has gained that one position from Nicky Taylor, and I think if you remember rightly, Jack, there was a fair bit of argy-bargy between Dan Zelos and Nicky Taylor. Interestingly enough, Dan Zelos is a coach for Nicky Taylor in real life in the Coopers, so not a lot of love lost there, and a really interesting battle between the two.
Yeah, the internet connection might not help either. Nicky Taylor just keeps disconnecting and getting pings of over about 600. And for anybody out there who's not, technically minded or knows computers, you want your ping setting to be around 10 to 30. That's okay. When you hit 600, that's when you start lagging through the track and deciding your car wants to fly or something like that. And no one can really understand where you are. That's what we were talking about, lag spikes before. So we'll try and keep you updated on that as soon as we can. 30 seconds left to go. There's not many people improving. Chris Shepard has just put in a quick sector 1, and that's the driver we're currently on board with now as they go through the final couple of corners in the back section. They take it nice and tight to the left there. You can run over the inside curb a little bit, but it's Chris Shepard taking it very wide. That might not help, and that's certainly not going to help. He's doing a little bit of weaving.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dave, carry on.
I think that weaving actually was frustration, there, Jack. I think he ran a little bit fractionally too wide. The car's a real tendency, if you're too early on the power there, to push the front and get it wide onto that grass. And I think that's exactly what happened. It invalidated his lap, but I think he was on for a good lap then. So big frustration there for Chris Shepard. Yeah,
Jack Mack is also on a quicker lap time now as well, but I'm not sure if he's just come into the pits. No, he's at the back section at the moment, so keep an eye on Jack McIntyre as he's coming closer to the line. Most of the other drivers have pretty much finished up their lap. Nobody's gone really very quick. Chris Shepard obviously was quicker in Sector 1, ended up pitting. Jack Mack in 5th place. He's gone quick in Sector 2, and he's quick in Sector 1. He's very quick in Sector 1 as well. He was about a couple of thousandths quicker than Chris Shepard, who we mentioned already had a good one in Sector 1. What can Jack Mack do? Can he upset the top of the pile? Ryan Elliott and Scott Bugner are his targets. Jack Mack comes across the line. It's not an improvement. It's going to have to be settling for top 5 position for Jack Mack. I tell you what, he's gone a little bit closer, hasn't he? He's 300ths of a second away from Chris Shepard, who in turn is 500ths away from Newsham, who's 500ths away from Scott Bugner. Ryan Elliott sits top of the pile. Kenny Press is one of the last drivers to be going round, and that is qualifying just about done with. No points for qualifying, so we don't have to update you on the championship for anything to change. But if anybody needs quickly reminding before Dave has an interview, it is Brennan, Zelos, McIntyre, Shepard, Newsham, your top 5. So those 5 drivers are certainly ones to be looking out for. Ryan Elliott, pole position, he's in 6th, with Scott Bugner and Dorman 7th and 8th in the championship. And I think, Dave, you can go and have a chat to our pole man, Ryan Elliott.
Yes, we can indeed. We'll go down to pole man, as he said, Ryan Elliott. I mean, it looked almost scripted. You were fastest in practice, and you've gone and put it on pole. Maybe not quite as much as you found, though, in the practice events.
No, yeah, really happy, but also, like, disappointed. I was sort of 10th and a half away there from what I was in practice, but it was more the case of I did my first lap out, I did a low 6, but I got a cut track penalty for running wide.
Yeah,
Actually lost time on that lap as well. Every lap I was going past and gaining it back. So the entire session I was chasing that delta and got really close. I was in for a 5 there on my last lap, but lost about a 10th in the last corner. But I mean, you still can't complain with Paul, really. I'm over the moon with that one, and I think it's a perfect start for what I really need to happen for my my perfect round if I want any sort of hope in hell of winning this.
Yeah, I mean, that was the next question. You've got Scott Bugner, obviously a bit of a teammate for you, but is there any sort of team rules here, or is it all sort of fighting for each other and sort of do what you do individually?
Same as GT4, honestly. Obviously, we're all in the team together, and thankfully, I mean, we don't have a teams championship to sort of fight for. We ran away with that one, but it's more the only rule we sort of have between ourselves is don't be stupid. Because at the end of the day, we're all fighting for our own championship. It's just don't be stupid. If you're gonna make a move, make it clear, and just have fun. Like we're not here for team orders or stuff like that. We're here to race. Like we're here to have a good time. So I mean, really looking forward to it.
I'll quickly point out as well, Callum Newsham putting a lap in 3rd place. Is Callum a bit of a worry? Obviously he knows how to get past drivers and he knows how to put his car in certain scenarios. Is Callum really the danger man here to watch out for behind, or is Scott your main focus off the line?
I mean, good question. It's both of them are danger men for me, really, because the title is so close. Like I think between 4th and
you and Scott are on the same points.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Scott are identical points. I think Callum's 1 point more than me or something like that. It's so tight that both of them are. I mean, Callum's been known to have a lot. Like I've seen him have some really good starts this season, but also he's had a bit of lag, so that could play a factor. But I think every time I've got near Scott on a track, he might be a little bit slower than me in quali or practice, but as soon as he gets in behind me, he puts his head down and he sticks onto the back of us. Like so.
Well, good luck,
about
Ryan.
Both.
Good luck, Ryan, going towards the race, and we'll jump to a quick ad break now before the start of the race.
Yeah, thank you.
And we're back. We've only got a minute to go before the first race of the mini JCW finale gets underway. We had a fascinating chat with Ryan Elliott there about who he's maybe worried most about, and the fact that the thing I took away from it is the fact that he said, I can't complain too much about getting pole position, and then continued to complain about how he didn't get pole position well enough. I was like, you got pole position, let's just get on with the race. He's a very competitive guy, and he knows what he can do.
That is typical driver who isn't getting the most out of what he knows he can do. So fair play to Ryan. But you'll notice the interesting fact for me, Scott Bugner there in second place. But as you see, Callum Newsham, for me, slightly more downhill. If he can get a good start and a good run to turn one, he's got to worry about that inside position.
Yeah, and we've only got about 10 seconds before we find out how it all gets underway as well. Don't count out Jack Mack from fifth, sorry. Lights go on. Engine notes rise, and we're about to get ready to go racing in the finale of the mini JCW, and it's a good start by Ryan Elliott. Scott Bugner also gets a good start. Callum Newsham, however, with all that build-up, doesn't get the start that he was desiring. I think Chris Shepard is going to have him into T1. There's contact into T1, that's for sure. Chris Shepard still delves into fourth place and tries to cover off on Jack McIntyre. McIntyre looking all the way to the inside, but he gets on the brakes nice and early. Zelos maybe having a look on the outside as well, but he's getting nudged out by Jordan Brennan, I believe that is. So Zelos on the inside of Graham Hill Bend. Keeps Zelos behind him for now, but keeps Brennan behind him for now. I thought Brennan was going to go for that undercut. They had seemed to have all gone through the first couple of corners as they were, essentially. Elliott, Bugner, Newsham, Shepard, McIntyre, Zelos, Brennan and Taylor.
Yeah, so that was actually a really, really clean start from all the drivers. But crucially, Zelos managed to get round the outside of Brennan. You saw Brennan just got a little bit pinched going into Druids. Couldn't really progress. Zelos braved it round the outside. Fair respect between both drivers. Brennan didn't push him wide or anything like that. But Brennan will be thinking, this is not the time to battle this early. Let's work with him, go forward and try and challenge them drivers in front.
Simon Thorpe in the background there, getting a little bit of rally crossing as Brennan looks up the inside of Dan Zelos. That's a dangerous place to overtake someone through Dingle Dell. Luckily, he didn't try it. I tried it once in real life, and I can tell you it is a dangerous place to do it. Luckily, I didn't get any damage from the car, but it was very close to being. Ryan Elliott has got a good run away, but I tell you who else has got a good run is it's Chris Shepard here, right in the middle, trying to get past Callum Newsham still, who's got his nose on the inside. It's going to be contact. The front wheel drive car, the mini of Callum Newsham goes into the wall. Chris Shepard divides the two minis in the middle and manages to slot himself through into third place with Newsham in fourth. McIntyre around the outside of Haddock Hill Bend is extremely brave, committed, and potentially not going to work as they go into Druids because he's on the outside. He can carry momentum around the outside of Druids and get into Graham Hill Bend on the inside, which is crucial, really, to the rest of the circuit as Newsham tries to hang it around the outside. And McIntyre is potentially on the inside for Surtees. Newsham's not coming across, but Dan Zelos is interested. McIntyre on the inside of Surtees is going to force Newsham, the real-world mini JCW driver, out wide, and I think has got that move done. Dan Zelos is trying to carry through with McIntyre. The Tancho Simsport of McIntyre looking a bit battered and bruised. Newsham is falling down the order as Zelos cuts his nose off and gets into the, oh my days, I was about to say gets into fifth place, but I think we're going to have to take that back. As they start round the back of the GB circuit as Nicky Taylor, we know he's not afraid of anything, goes into seventh place on Jordan Brennan.
Yeah, he is not afraid. That is not a corner that I see is particularly good overtake as Brennan goes extremely sideways. Brennan just about holding on to this, sat in 8th place at the moment. This is where Brennan really needs to just get his head back into gear, get them consistent laps in and realise his championship isn't over yet. Remember, Dan Zelos is his main championship rival. He's only 2 positions ahead now, so really, really interesting to see how this plays out. But what racing that was for all them 4 drivers. Great race and respect, and exactly the sort of battle I want to be part of.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, realistically, that's what you get with front-wheel drive racing, isn't it? If somebody just puts their nose up the inside, the lucky thing is, if you get a tap on the rear end, all you do is put your foot down and the nose corrects the rest of the body. So it's quite useful. I wouldn't say encourage, it allows or enables a little bit of closer racing than if we were in all rear-wheel drive cars. You get a rear-wheel drive car, you get a tap on the rear, you spin, there is no recovering from it. So that's why we see quite a lot more with it in the minis than we do, say, in the Genesis, isn't it, Dave?
Yeah, as well as also, you know, not that there's a load more, but there's a bit more aero on the Ginetta, so there's a little bit more sort of contact reliant sort of thing going on during the race. So you don't really want to be having any nose to tail impact on the Ginetta. These you might see them favouring a little bit more and a little bit of bumping here and there, and the cars can take it. They're quite little robust little things, and I tell you what, that is what provides such great racing in these cars. McIntyre actually, I would say, starting to create a little bit of a gap now. Nicky Taylor running very wide. This will be an impressive save. Watch out for Brent, he's going to be watching this. But I tell you what, I think Nicky Taylor has a bit of pace here. I think he could go forward.
He just needs to calm it a touchdown, doesn't he, Nicky?
I don't think Nicky knows calm.
I was going to say, he's like, he's not exactly got a dimmer switch, has he? Here he goes wide through Clark Curves. And here goes Jordan Brennan, who obviously is the championship leader and needs to pick up solid points from this race one. He goes through into 7th place. Taylor will end up coming back at him. I don't think there's any doubt about that from anybody who watched 2 weeks ago. I think it was the Nürburgring. Nicky Taylor throwing his elbows, his knees and his arms out everywhere, trying to get past as he has a little bit of a lag spike. Not too sure what's happened to him there, but Nicky Taylor, he was having problems in qualifying, and I think he's made contact with Andy Dorman, and unfortunately I think if there is too many lag spikes and he's a danger to the other drivers, you may well see him removed from the session. Andy Dorman, I'm sure, will be very disappointed with that, and I think Paul Laramie as well, he's had a drive-through for jumping the start, so which is why Paul Laramie is out of 15th place. So if there are any Laramie fans out there, that is why he's so far down. Dan Zelos trying to catch up to Callum Newsham, and damage done. Yeah, that's unfortunate, really. So Callum Newsham, he's not had the start that his qualifying would suggest. As this is going to make it worse. I thought Zelos had gone too wide, but Newsham had gone even wider. Zelos flies up the inside of Dingledell, gets past him. Sheen's curve, but yeah, he just about manages to keep it on the black stuff as they take Sterling's nice and fine. Here comes Jordan Brennan, hoping to take off another place from Newsham, who's just been going backwards, Dave. Ever since the start, he got a poor start, didn't he? Ever since then, it's just not gone well.
No, it hasn't. Jordan just hasn't managed to link up them early laps. But to be fair to him, he's still actually found himself in 7th place here at the moment. So, not going all too bad. Brad Smith in the pit. So I don't know whether that was another jump start. And crucially enough, Dorman, you see, getting involved in a very, very unfortunate scenario with Nicky Taylor. Really needs to pull himself back up into that reverse grid place of 10th, where Kenny Press is at the moment, and he's got a real good chance to recover this.
Right, Elliott still in the race lead, though, from Scott Bugner. We've saw on the YouTube chat that Scott Bugner has some fans, and we should expect some decent results from him. Well, he's in 2nd place. Is he biding his time? Or has Ryan Elliott got the ultimate pace over him, but only just? It was about 0.4 of a second. But, Dave, when we see a driver like Ryan Elliott not pull away entirely from the driver behind, sometimes that means the driver behind is trying to keep that 0.4 gap for a reason, isn't it? Andy Dorman, the recovering driver here on Kenny Press, will go back to talking about Bugner in a second as Dorman goes through the inside of, I think, Hawthorne's at the end of that straight. It's a very brave move, but it can be very effective because the driver, if you're caught on the outside, you're very scared of that wall and that grass coming very quickly at you.
Yeah, it's one of the fastest corners, so very, very good overtake there by Dorman. This is where it's a very difficult position here, Jack. If you're Dorman, reverse grid pull, you're looking at the pace he's got in the car. I reckon actually if he stayed in 10th place, he's got a real good chance of pulling away and actually maybe winning race 2. He then passes Mick, Sutton and Andy Carroll to gain them extra 2 points. I'm thinking it's probably better for Dorman to actually hold back. And actually, I don't know what's happened there, but Dorman's actually dropped back behind Kenny Press. So something interesting's happened back with Kenny and Dorman, and that's not at all what Dorman needs.
No, it's a shame we didn't see that. But here comes Dorman going back through into Druids. Now, Kenny Press doesn't look like he's defending that very difficult, is he? He's not making it difficult at all, and Dorman gets his way through there. So you're right, absolutely right. The reverse grid may play a crucial part. I said that Callum Newsham not showing too much pace. He did get a purple Sector 1 just a couple of moments ago. Ryan Elliott has pulled away from Scott Bugner, so I suggested that Scott Bugner, is trying to keep within 0.4 of a second of Ryan Elliott without pushing too hard. Ryan Elliott probably heard that and thought, no, hold on, I'll just show off a little bit more and put some quick times in. There's a second gap between first and second then. As we're looking back forward to Callum Newsham on Dan Zelos. Maybe Newsham's finally got his head on and he's trying to get some rhythm in the car, maybe some heat in the tyres and try and get past Zelos as quickly as he can. Remember, Zelos is in his own little championship battle with Jordan Brennan. Obviously, Brennan is just behind Newsham. So, if we're looking at the overall championship and how this race might affect the overall championship, this particular battle, 5th, 6th, and 7th, i.e. Zelos, Newsham, Brennan, could be the key to maybe who's winning a Sim Race 5 and a Sim Race 3 come the end of the night. It could all come down to this. And really, Dave, it's all in Callum Newsham's hands at the moment because Zelos will be hoping Newsham doesn't make too much of an aggressive move on him, and Brennan will be hoping he does.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting position. Dan Zelos there in 5th place. That's 11 points he'll haul. But crucially, that's only 2 more points than what Jordan Brennan's going to score. So obviously, you know, if you look at the drivers' standings, we've got Brennan on 86, Zelos on 82. So it actually only closes that gap by 2 points and keeps Brennan in the lead. But crucially, in the reverse grid, Brennan will be in front and the shoe is on the other foot for then Brennan to defend. So it is not all done yet, and I cannot wait to see how this race develops on.
Yeah, then you got to keep in mind that Jack Mack is in 4th place ahead of both of these drivers, who will close up the gap just a touch, and he's in 3rd place in the championship. Chris Shepard, he's in 3rd again. It's closing up, and it's getting very, very exciting. I'm getting very excited anyway. Newsham on the outside of Hawthorne's getting a little bit too much excited and clipping the grass there. Oh, they're both... I'll tell you what, Dave. I mean, you do a lot of driving in the Minis. We know it's probably one of your favourite cars on the sort of Assetto Corsa service and everything like that. These guys are they're extracting every inch of circuit out of this, aren't they? And every mile an hour out of the car. They're properly on the edge. Yeah,
I mean, for me, you know, when you're talking about favourite cars, for me, it doesn't get any better than a rear-wheel drive Mark II Escort. But that's my preference. Don't get me wrong, though. I do like these cars. I've got a lot of fond memories and a lot of success in these cars. And yes, you're right in what you say. These drivers are finding every last inch of the track, and you wouldn't believe the speed of these drivers. I think that's a little bit wide by Zelos, though. That's going to sacrifice him a little bit up to Druids. This is an opportunity, Callum. You need to go for this. Get it up the inside. That is, for me, a really fair move. I know it looks a bit robust, but Newsham showed his face. Zelos was expecting that, but this is where Brennan needs to pounce.
Yeah, it was an aggressive move, and to be fair to Dan Zelos, it hasn't hurt him as much as maybe we all thought it would, because he sort of was expecting Callum Newsham to come through there, wasn't he? But look at this, up the inside of Surtees, that's a huge dive, and that is going to be the move that'll hurt him, because now going down towards Hawthorne's, that's Dan Pilgrim's drop, Zelos will have a terrible run. Brennan, I mean, I think Brennan had to just come off the accelerator on the exit there, otherwise he would have had both of these drivers coming out of Surtees there. Trust you me, it would have been an absolutely mega move for Brennan. As it is, he's still got the opportunity going towards Westfield to maybe have a look at the inside. No, but he does get over the apex a lot better than Zelos. I think Zelos is maybe, I wouldn't say struggling to get to the apexes, but there's 1 or 2 times that we've maybe looked at him and thought, oh, he's a little bit wide going through those 2 places. Going through Sterling's, he seems to have sorted it out somewhat, but look at that momentum that's been taken by Brennan. Huge amount of speed on the exit there, dropping all over the grass. Yeah, no, not quite into Clark Curve. You are brave. It's better into Paddock Hill. You have to get the run through Clark, and I think actually, if anything, Brennan was a little bit close going into Clark Curve. He couldn't get the extra momentum and speed to get into Paddock Hill. It's about timing, Dave, isn't it?
It is, sorry about that, it is indeed Dan Zelos for me, looking very, very defensive here. I think probably losing a bit of time. You can see Newsham's really starting to pull a bit of a gap now, and that's making him vulnerable to Brennan just there behind. I think Brennan's got the speed in the car, seems to have really good flow, but I think he's just sacrificing that little bit of speed in certain areas because of that weight, and he's struggling a little bit with that. But crucially, this really doesn't change the championship all that much in the position they're in at the moment.
No, all it does is just maybe take 1 or 2 points off Zelos. Obviously, Brennan will, still have a little bit of a gap. McIntyre in 3rd place will close up just a touch more, but it's only a touch, isn't it? And I did make a mistake earlier on. I said Ryan Elliott doesn't get anything for qualifying. I was wrong. He gets a point, which that, you know, may only be a point, but it is actually quite crucial because it moves him alongside Callum Newsham in the championship on 75 points. So it was important, and I got that one slightly wrong. So if anybody's wondering, Ryan Elliott got the point in qualifying for pole position, and that moved him from 74 points, tied with Callum Newsham on 75 points for 5th place. So yet another story. There's like 5 or 6 stories in this championship that we're going to be having to keep an eye out on. At the moment, we're keeping an eye on Jordan Brennan, aren't we? And it's very close indeed. Just before Jordan Brennan makes this move, I do want to point out there's been a couple of people on the YouTube chat wondering about Academy or League of Champions or any sort of competition VRRC are running, wondering how they get involved. Well, all you have to do is send a message. I'm sure Rich from VRRC, who's keeping an eye on all the chats and everything like that, will be in touch with you on any of the socials or the Discord as well. Zelos actually looked like he was making a move on Callum Newsham then. Newsham has backed himself right up, and Zelos has found some pace. Brennan hasn't stuck with the orange Mini yet, and Zelos is looking to fight back.
I tell you what, Zelos is looking very, very racy indeed now. Find a bit of pace and find his way up the inside of Newsham. Newsham needs to calculate this brilliantly, get the undercut, and this will be a slipstream all the way down to Hawthorne, like the move we saw in Dorman. If Newsham is committed here, he can maybe set this up, but you know Zelos, a very experienced JCW driver in real life, he is not going to leave that door open.
Oh, he almost closed the door on the outside going into Hawthorne there, which would have been a big crash for both of the drivers. And Brennan would have been licking his lips at that prospect. Newsham still looking up the inside of Westfield, but again, you pretty much have to be your entire car length alongside to look at the inside here. But you don't have to be a entire car length to look at the inside of Duffer's Dip, and into the right-hander they go. It is very close. Zelos just about manages to fit into the middle of that sandwich and come out yet again in 6th position. Newsham goes ahead, and now I thought he looked like he gave the position to Zelos into Surtees. Maybe he just wasn't expecting the move, but he should have been expecting it because Zelos made a massive lunge a couple of laps ago for it. At the moment, though, maybe Newsham knows more than me because he's still in 5th place with Zelos in 6th, Brennan in 7th. Andy Dorman has just got past Kenny Press, I believe. No, Dorman and Mick Sutton this actually is. So Mick Sutton ahead of Andy Dorman. Dorman with good pace looking to the outside of Paddock Hill. He'll have the better speed through the corner because he's taken the more natural racing line. And the fact that Mick Sutton misses the apex will help Dorman immensely going into Druid.
Yeah, great move.
And it's a good move, well set up through Paddock Hill. In fact, he set that up at Clark Curve because Sutton never looked happy with his car position going into Paddock Hill Bend. However, he looks pretty happy with it going into Graham Hill. No, slams the door. Dorman gets 9th position. That means he'll potentially be on the outside for the reverse grid race. And shooting forward, Dave, we're having a look at McIntyre versus Shepard.
Yeah, this is an interesting battle, so this really does matter. This is 3rd and 4th in the championship that they are currently battling. Chris Shepard obviously in that 4th place, 3 points behind Jack McIntyre. So actually Shepard is going to have to try and defend this with absolutely everything he's got. But I've got to admit, Jack is looking very, very racy indeed.
He does, and looking towards the, maybe just trying to off-put Shepard. Oh, there's a massive little fight going on here. John Brennan's finally stuck his nose up somewhere and is up the inside of Callum Newsham. He follows Zelos through. Now, before, he wasn't ever close enough to try and make the move and follow Zelos through. Well, now he's done just that as McIntyre is now looking. We don't know where to look. Will Powell on the broadcast, on the cameras, is probably tearing his hair out that he doesn't have at least 3 different PCs going at once. McIntyre just, is he going to get that apex? No, he couldn't quite get the cutback successfully on Chris Shepard. He maybe took too much speed into the corner. That's allowed Chris Shepard to get back across the road, go defensive into Druid, hold that apex and run out wide, and McIntyre's just getting the door slammed in his face everywhere he looks, isn't he? He's really struggling here to try and find that just half a mini's worth of space to fly up the inside. He's just trying to go around the outside here at Surtees. He's not really. He's trying to get the cutback, isn't he, on Chris Shepard here, Dave? Trying to straighten that car up the hill so you can get on the power slightly earlier and get the drive down to Hawthorne's.
Yeah, so I'm lucky enough that I've raced alongside Jack on many occasions.
Oh, here he goes.
And I know he's the sort of driver, as you can see, once he gets his aim on the back of your car, he does not lift off until he gets past. And that's what we're seeing now. Chris Shepard not soaking up that pressure maybe quite as well as he could have done. McIntyre finding a way past, and that is crucial looking forward in the championship. But also crucial is Brennan now up in the 6th position in the race 1, which obviously has a huge points haul difference over 7th. So I tell you what, I'm trying to work out the points in my head, but what I'm working out is it is going to be incredibly close between Ryan Elliott and Jordan Brennan going into race 2. I think they could be on tie points if I'm right.
Luckily, the computer does all that for us
It
after
does
race
indeed.
1, doesn't it? So,
Does indeed.
well, quickly, as Shepard actually thrown his spanner into the mix as well. McIntyre going for that cutback, and I tell you what, he may have played this to perfection. Jack McIntyre on the inside of Chris Shepard. It was a wonderful undercut. Jack McIntyre, you need to teach me the ways, boy, because that was absolutely stunning undercut through Paddock Hill Bend. Saw Chris Shepard coming all the way down the pit straight and just knew exactly where he had to put the car and how much speed Chris Shepard was going in. It's so hard to judge not only your speed going into a corner and thinking about all that, but trying to gather up how quick the driver is behind you going up the inside and how quick they're going and where their braking point is. McIntyre read it to perfection. Brennan holding off Callum Newsham. That's his job now, isn't it? Because if Newsham gets in between Zelos and Brennan, and McIntyre's obviously gone forward, Brennan's in a little bit of trouble championship-wise, but here he's got a good buffer at the moment, got a couple of points in him, but the last thing he'll want to do is give up the championship lead going into the final race.
Yeah.
Now, we're not saying that it is going to be giving up the championship lead if he gets overtaken here, because we haven't worked it out, but there's that potential. He doesn't want to drop points if he can avoid it. Chris Shepard doesn't want to drop points either as he's trying to get into the back of Jack Mack. Goes very wide there, though. That's going to be Jack Mack's place for the taking. The checkered flag may well be out soon, and I think it's going to be out this time round because the time has hit 0 and Ryan Elliott's hit the checkered flag. He's hit the nail on the head in every single session and every single lap so far. Ryan Elliott takes the win with Scott Bugner in 2nd place. Jack Mack in 3rd after Chris Shepard tried his best but couldn't succeed in 4th place. Dan Zelos comes across the line for a hard-fought and well-deserved 5th position, with Jordan Brennan taking advantage of Callum Newsham being forced out wide, gets into 6th, with Newsham being 7th. Andy Carroll, Andy Dorman in 8th and 9th. Mick Sutton on pole position for race number 2. He's in 10th place. Kenny Bress in 11th. Paul Laramie is going to come across the line in 12th place, as long as he keeps it on the circuit, because unfortunately we've had Simon Thorpe, Brad Smith and Nicky Taylor all retiring. Smith actually is... Thorpe is actually at the back end of the circuit. I couldn't see him on my circuit map. So, deep breath, Dave. Obviously, we'll have the quick driver interviews, but we'll try and keep them relatively short because we obviously want to go through what that means for the championship, doesn't it? So, as you invite the drivers into the session, we'll just reflect on that podium positions. Ryan Elliott taking that race victory with no real dramas throughout. Scott Bugner in 2nd place, tried his best but couldn't quite get there in the end. And Jack McIntyre just getting past Chris Shepard on that penultimate lap, ended up taking 3rd place after Shepard pushed too hard to get him on the final couple of corners. Dave, take the interviews away.
Yeah, so we'll go down to our P3 finish at the start. Jack McIntyre, what a determined effort that was. I was saying, I'm lucky enough that I've raced alongside you plenty times, and I know when you set your aim on the back of someone's car, you don't let off until you get a gap or get a nose up the inside, and that's exactly the drive we saw today. Brilliant job bringing it home in P3.
Cheers, mate. That was so tough. That was such a... I want to watch those first couple of laps back because there was a few moments where we were... I think it was maybe me and Callum were side by side for most of a lap, and yeah, great race towards the end. Like you say, just kind of got a bit of clear space and tried to hunt Chris down. And I know he's a tough racer and he fights back, so I kind of had to give it back a little bit. But it was a great race in the end. Really happy with 3rd, and it's going to be an exciting race too.
Yeah, it looked like a phenomenally hard race, and obviously this is great news for a possible championship victory. I mean, is that in the back of your head at all, or you're literally just thinking get as good of a position in each race as you can, and what the championship will be?
Yeah, it's a bit of both really. You just have to score as well as you can, and then, like you say, whatever will be. But there was a few moments there coming up behind Chris where I thought, do I want to go past him? Do I want the extra good position on the race 2? And I don't know. Maybe I made the right choice. Maybe I didn't. But yeah, we'll see. It's you just got to go for it, I think.
Yeah, well, we're definitely looking forward to seeing how you managed to get on in race 2. Huge congratulations, Jack, and hopefully we'll be talking to you after the end of race 2.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
I'll move forward on our P2 finisher, Scott Bugner. A fantastic effort there to finish in P2, but just not quite the raw pace needed to keep up with the battle Ryan's car, was it?
Didn't quite have the pace that Ryan had, but settled for second, good points. I don't know what the championship was like now going into this final round, but
incredibly close.
Yeah,
incredibly close.
I don't want to know. I'm just going to go for it. This is the last round. It's let the best man win, and good luck to everyone, and hopefully it's a good clean round.
Yeah, well, if the racing for race 1 is anything to go by, it's going to be a fantastic spectacle going into race 2, and hopefully we'll see more of the same. Fantastic going, Scott, and look forward to seeing you in race 2. I'll move forward on our race 1 winner. It's exactly what you need to do, isn't it, Ryan? You've got the fastest lap there, you've got the point from qualifying, and you've brought it home in first. But I tell you what, it's going to be a really hard challenge to get through the grid, isn't it?
So, before I even answer that question, I'm looking at the championship standings right now. They've just been updated, and oh my goodness.
I know!
There's 3 points. There's 5 points covering the top 5. It's been incredible, and no matter what happens in this race, I've had a great time. Like you say, I've done everything I needed to today. Pole for the point, fastest lap for another point, and then obviously the race win.
Yeah.
I'm just really going for that drive of the round. I haven't had one since the first round of Giannetta's, so if I could have one to finish it off, that'd be great as well. But yeah, really, I mean, I'm tied for the lead in the championship right now, so essentially I just need to send it, really. Just go forward and keep my nose clean, and whatever happens happen. I've had a great time over the past sort of 4 series. It's been up and down, but it's been great fun, and that was a great race.
We'll do you a deal, Ryan. If you win the championship, you can choose the AOC gaming headset or the Sim Race 5. What do you want? You got to win it first, though, before we have this chat.
You know what? I think I'd stick with the SR5.
Good choice.
Thanks for the offer. At least I've got options.
Well, huge congratulations, Ryan, on doing exactly what you need to do. But as I said, this is going to be the challenging part going into race 2. We'll hope the best for you. If the racing is anything like race 1, it was super clean, respectful, and fantastic to watch. So we hope race 2 is like that as well. We might be talking to you after race 2. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
Fingers crossed there. Thank you very much, guys.
In a bit.
That was Dave talking to our podium sitters, but now is the time to get your breath. We've got about a minute before we go into the race, and I just want to have to look at this team championships. Right, this championship. Jordan Brennan 96, Ryan Elliott 96, Jack Mack 94, Zelos 93, Bugner 91, Chris Shepard 89. Callum Newsham's, I mean, it looks like an absolute chasm between 6th and 7th now, doesn't it? With 5 points. It's amazing, really, because 5 points, as Ryan just said, separates 1st down to 5th. Dave, get your calculator out.
This is not going to make this race too easy at all. For us to try and keep up with this with active positions, this is going to be a real challenge. But I tell you what, it's going to be a damn sight easier than them drivers on the grid trying to battle for these positions. This is where it matters.
It's essentially who wins on circuit out of those 5 drivers, isn't it? It's the order they finish this race in between themselves is essentially the order that we're going to be talking about the championship.
Brennan's got the power play. I think Brennan here, if he can drive smart, he is in the position to do the damage.
Brennan with that 40 kilos on board, though, with the 5 lights on. I didn't even realise that the lights are coming on. The engine notes rise, and we are away for the finale of the mini JCW. We haven't had a championship this close before, and that's saying something. This is going to be absolutely incredible as they go down towards the first corner. Mick Sutton has a good start. Andy Dorman in 2nd place, and they're all already going side by side between Callum Newsham and Andy Carroll. Newsham's going down, though. Jordan Brennan into 4th place already. Zelos has got past Shepard, has got past Newsham. They're all bunched up into Druids. It's impossible to see who is where. Keep an eye on the left-hand side of your tower as Zelos has bashed his way through.
Oh, Zelos
is off. Zelos on the outside of Graham Hill, and so is Mick Sutton. They're going 3 wide, down into Surtees, nearly 4 wide. I think that's Shepard versus Elliott.
Oh, Elliott's
on the inside. Shepard's been forced wide. McIntyre's going through. Oh my days, Scott Bugner's in there as well, but at the moment Andy Dorman's loving life at the front of the field, but we've got to focus further down. Paul Laramie has span off the back of the circuit. Jack McIntyre's in the middle of what can only be described as a cluster clock. It's absolutely mental what you're watching right now with Elliott, Shepard, Brennan, McIntyre, Bugner and Carroll and Newsham, and it could all change within about 2 corners. Dave, I don't know how we call this, as McIntyre goes through on Jordan Brennan. And look at this, Newsham goes through on Carroll. He wants a bit of this. He doesn't care that he's 84 points and the leader is at 96. He wants to try and get in there as Bugner goes through on Brennan again.
Yeah, so Brennan hasn't had the start there at all that he needed, realistically. Brennan obviously dropped back quite significantly there, but McIntyre, this is where he needs to find absolutely everything he's got left in that car.
It's going to be, we're going to have to stave off predicting championships until we're at least 10 minutes into this one, because they're just going to be sorting themselves out throughout the entire race here, as Ryan Elliott is absorbing pressure from Chris Shepard now. And I tell you what, Dorman is, as I said, is loving life at the front of this field, because he just knows that he's not really in the championship fight anymore. He just wants to get that race win. Elliott, Shepard, McIntyre, Bugner, Brennan, Newsham, Carroll. That is how they've sorted themselves out for the time being. I apologise if you thought I was just yelling down my mic, but it did sound like it. I understand that as Zelos gets past Brad Smith to try and catch up to this train, and no doubt he will catch up to this train, to be honest. But you can understand, Dave, that sometimes you just get carried away, don't you? At the end of the day, we might be commentators, but we are racing fans.
Yeah, exactly. We're both drivers as well. We know what it's like to be in that scenario. And I tell you what, if we've got any sort of adrenaline going on here in the comms box, the drama behind that wheel down there is absolutely off the scale. And I tell you what, I'm going to say it now. I called this Dorman out in the lead. This is Dorman's to lose now. Can he hold on?
Chris Shepard ran a little bit wide there through Westfields and going into Duffer's dip. He just stays ahead of Jack McIntyre. For now, going into Sterling's nobody looking up the inside there, but it has backed everyone off a little bit from Ryan Elliott, who will be very, very thankful for Chris Shepard at this moment in time, I'm sure, because at the moment, Ryan Elliott is winning a championship and he's winning a Sim Race 5. A pair of AOC gaming headset is within the question, but we won't reveal that until the end of the day, shall we say. Chris Shepard, Jack Bugner, Brennan, who's going to make the first move now? Dave, you've been in the position more than I have, that's for sure.
Yeah.
What do you do if you're, say, Scott Bugner or Jordan Brennan at this point in time? I mean, if you're Jack McIntyre, it's a pretty obvious task. You want to try and get past Chris Shepard. He's the one holding you and everybody else up. But what about if you're Bugner or Brennan? You're in the middle of this 6-car pack.
If I'm honest, this is where it's absolutely demoralised as a driver to see your main championship opponent several cars ahead of the pack that you're trying to battle in clear air, putting phenomenal lap times in. You're thinking in your head, this championship is just slipping away. It is gone. The only hope Brennan's got here is if there's any sort of collision between Dorman and Elliott. But we know how clean Dorman is. The chance of that happening is very, very slim. And obviously we wouldn't want to see that either. As McIntyre gets up the inside of Shepard, there's a bit of leaning going on there. Shepard's trying to defend this with all he can. And Scott Bugner is ended up on the outside. Bugner, that is not going to work. Here's Brennan. Brennan with a shot here to get himself back on the podium. Up the inside of Shepard. Is he going to lean in? In fact, it's already done through Dingle-Dell. It is job done for Brennan. But Brennan with that 40 kg is going to have a really hard task now.
I think that was exactly what Brennan needed, wasn't it? He was ready, he was poised, he was opportunistic, he knew exactly what was going to happen. And you might as well take the risk, because like you said, Ryan Elliott is in second place, and he's got a fair old lead as well from Jack Mack now. The only thing that can stop Ryan Elliott is if he gets held up by Andy Dorman, who hasn't been slow this series. He can pedal a mini JCW, so realistically, McIntyre to catch up to Dorman is going to be quite difficult. Brennan, though, going down the order here as Chris Shepard gets back up the inside. Oh, I thought Brennan was going to be held out to dry, but no, actually, it's Callum Newsham who's held out to dry. Scott Bugner goes past him. Andy Carroll, not quite there, but hello, who's that? Is that Dan Zelos, I can see. Indeed it is. He's catching up in 9th position and wants to get involved in this. It looks like almost there's a couple of battles forming within this major storyline that we've got going on now as Ryan Elliott and Andy Dorman. Everyone will be hoping that Andy Dorman does them and the championship a favour and hold Ryan Elliott up or make it difficult. And to be honest, Ryan Elliott's faster. I think Andy Dorman's probably a big enough man to own up to that. We want Andy Dorman to maybe try and put up a fight to Ryan Elliott here, because we don't want this to be done and dusted before we get halfway into this race at least. As Carroll and Newsham, Carroll with a huge slide, and Dan Zelos is going to go into him. Dan Zelos turns him round, but really he had nowhere to go.
Yeah.
I can't call anything apart from a racing incident there, Dave, but I might be calling something different here as Elliott goes with the Dorman. Elliott needs to keep this clean, Dave, because the last thing he needs is a steward's inquiry on Andy Dorman. Into Clark curve, Dorman goes for the apex, and then it's contact, and that will hold each other up. But crucially, it's allowed Ryan Elliott to get into the inside, and it's a little bit touch and go, a touch naughty, shall we say. We've seen it before, though, and it's classified as a racing incident. Elliott on the inside of Haddock Hill Bend goes into the race lead, but Andy Dorman's coming back. Andy Dorman with that cutback. Elliott has to defend into Druids, and this is, I tell you what, Jack McIntyre is absolutely loving this. He needs Dorman to hold him off and just try his best to get back past Elliott. And McIntyre needs to cleanly get past Dorman. It's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, it is indeed, but that there is exactly what Brennan's going to be looking at up ahead. Unfortunately, I think that is the championship about done for Brennan's point, but he's going to be thinking, this is now damage limitation. Can I rescue anything from this? Can I get myself into second place? Because at the moment, it is incredibly tight between Brennan and McIntyre. Brennan needs to get past Shepard here.
He does indeed, and just having a look, Tom O'Farrell on the broadcast said that Dorman was pretty much already sideways before there was any contact with Ryan Elliott. So I think Elliott's going to get away with the fact that there was a bit of contact into Clark curve. It just looked like a little bit of a. He saw what was happening, and he thought, I'll just open the door. There's a crack in the door. I'll just open it a little bit more so I can fit through. Thank you very much. Andy Carroll versus Kenny Press. Carroll going up the inside of Dingle Dell. Nice move there through Sheen. Not quite. I called it a little bit too early. Goes very wide. Could cause a problem on the apex of Sterling here if he's not too careful. Kenny Press gets back through. Mick Sutton forced out wide after the recovering Andy Carroll. Very much forcing him out wide, wasn't he? So, let's take a rundown as it stands, shall we, Dave? Ryan Elliott in the race lead. He's also in the championship lead. And, well, no one could catch him in qualifying. No one could catch him in race one. It's going to be a tough one for the rest of the field to have any idea of catching him now, isn't it?
It really is, yeah. So for me, this is Ryan Elliott's to lose. He has got this almost in the bag. Just needs to keep it on track, bring it home. When you look at it, though, it is going to be incredibly close between McIntyre. So as it stands, McIntyre in third position on 15 points. Brennan in fifth would score 11. That's a 4-point gap. In fact, Brennan's just made a fool of me. Got up the inside of Shepard. That's now Brennan scoring 13 points. That's a 2-point gap. And the gap between Jack and Jordan this season is 2 points. So this is mental.
Yeah, Chris Shepard, though, still on the inside of Jordan Brennan, who's trying to hang on to the outside, to be fair. And there's good racing room and respect. Scott Bugner's looking at this, thinking, oh, come on, boys, just leave a gap open for me. I want to get involved. And indeed, he does get involved up the inside of Dingle Dell. And it's going to be Scott Bugner who's overtaking both of them. What a fantastic move. Arguably, move of the day there, Dave. And we've seen some hell of a move.
We have indeed. That there was, wow. That was, I didn't think we were going to have 3 cars still on the track at the end of that. That's why I said, oh no, I thought that was a definite collision, 3 cars off the track. But they all made fools of me. Fair play, really good, clean race.
Jack McIntyre versus Andy Dorman.
Newsham off in the background.
Oh, who's that? As Callum Newsham flying off the circuit. McIntyre gets through on Dorman, but you can understand why. Maybe we wanted to see that what happened to Newsham. We couldn't quite catch it, but we'll hopefully hear about it in a couple of minutes. McIntyre gets past Dorman, who had a look at the inside and locked up, and he's through. So what can McIntyre do to chase down not only the race leader, but we'll say it again, the championship leader? Apparently there was no contact on Newsham. It maybe was maybe a connection issue. So that is a bit of a shame to see Newsham fall off the circuit in quite that fashion. Brennan, I think, is the middle car. Yes, he is the middle car of these 3. Bugner and Shepard either side of him. Shepard, we know, won't lie down easy. We know he's not going to, give Brennan these championship points when he doesn't need to. Dan Zelos is, again, the recovering car trying to catch these guys up, isn't he? And to be honest, he looks like he could be there within a lap, doesn't he? As long as these guys start fighting each other.
Yeah, he does, but if I'm completely honest, the championship with Ryan Elliott all the way out there, the championship is almost gone at this stage for all the other drivers. McIntyre, don't get me wrong, is lapping incredibly fast, but not enough to try and close that gap to Elliott. The big battle is Scott Bugner and Brennan behind, and if them can get past Dorman, if Scott catches up to the back of Bugner here, they start the battle, Brennan finds an opportunity to get past, that is when it's all game back on.
Yeah, we'll give you a full update once everything's sort of slightly settled down again, and we can sort of give you the provisional tables as they stand at that point in time as well. You're right, Brennan here going into Paddock Hill Bend is just probably getting a little bit sick of staring at the back of Scott Bugner's car after what was a fantastic move, though, wasn't it? I mean, let's face it, by Bugner. Up the inside, though, goes Brennan. As I say that, it was like I was reading his mind, or he's listening to the commentary. I'm not sure which one. However, he's gone on the inside of Druid, but he hasn't made the move stick because Bugner has the inside for Graham Hill Bend. And, I'll tell you what, Brennan is brave to try and carry the momentum around the outside there. I thought Chris Shepard might have a run there onto the inside of Surtees, but he's not been close enough to try and take advantage. Bugner holds on to his 4th position. Brennan on the outside is trying to carry the overspeed around the outside on the exit. I tell you what, that comes off. That is quite sensational. And in fact, he has. He's not only got half a car width, he's got the full car width. Chris Shepard, though, is very interested in seeing what's happening on the outside of Hawthorns here against Scott Bugner. I've seen stupider moves, but not many. Luckily, he just carries on backwards. Dan Zelos throwing everything at it to try and get back and get involved in this little battle. As Shepard goes through on Scott Bugner, Jordan Brennan has been given a touch of breathing room as they go down Dingle Dell, and it looks like Brennan, Shepard, Bugner, Zelos is now the order from 4th down to 7th.
Yeah, so this is where we really need to keep an eye on these timing towers. Have a look at Brennan's lap time, see what it compares with Dorman just in front. That is the main goal now for Brennan. I thought maybe that was a little bit of a daft move, if I'm completely honest. I thought he maybe should have just worked with the cars to try and close that gap to Dorman, because otherwise, if he loses too much time, that is his chance for 2nd place in the championship gone. But actually, fair play to him, he made it work, he committed around the outside, he hasn't lost too much time, and I tell you what, actually, he's gone very well indeed. Last lap, a 36.9, Andy Dorman a 37.3. So actually, Brennan here looking very, very good indeed.
Keep in mind as well, Brennan made those overtakes, I'm pretty sure, didn't? Oh no, that was the lap before, to be fair, actually. So yeah, that was a representative time.
Was that lap.
It was that lap. Yeah, sorry, I'm getting mixed up now. But I would agree with you in terms of trying to work together to catch Dorman up. But one thing may be clear, if they start fighting, obviously they'll never catch him up. But another thing is, somehow there is only 6 minutes of this race and this championship left. And I'm not entirely sure where the last 14 have gone. They've just disappeared. They've just gone into a blank. As Scott Bugner hits the brakes, and I thought he was going to draw a blank and go straight into Chris Shepard there, but luckily he didn't go for the full lunge and the full send. He just sort of went for a half a look, maybe delve his eyes into the post office, but not actually send anything yet. With any luck, he'll try and keep his head on. He needs to score good points as well. Chris Shepard does as realistically, it's hard to tell what the championship is looking like in that sort of 3rd place battle at the moment, but maybe that's what we can try and figure out, Dave, because obviously Ryan Elliott is pretty solidly in 2nd place. Jack McIntyre in 2nd place on the road. He'll probably have 2nd place in the championship, so he might have his eyes on a Sim Race 3 chassis. And then you've got Jordan Brennan, obviously. He's got a place in between Andy Dorman. So if you can start having a look at that, I'll talk about Chris Shepard and Scott Bugner, because Scott is still looking at the inside. And I tell you what, that psychological race move, I like to call it, has worked, because Shepard missed his braking zone, and Zelos is going up the inside of Shepard as well. So all your calculations you were about to do, Dave, may have just been thrown out, and you'll have to start again, because Zelos has got through on Shepard after Bugner just psyched him out of Paddock Hill.
Yes, I'm going to make your job fair easy here, Jack. Ryan Elliott, as it stands, has won the championship. Jack McIntyre, if he finishes where he's at and Brennan gets ahead of Dorman, they will be tie on points, but I could be wrong. I think Brennan will take 2nd place because he's had more mini victories than what McIntyre has. Don't hold me to that. It is going to be incredibly tight, and I believe Brennan and McIntyre will finish 2nd together if Brennan can get past Dorman. The server will work it all out for us regarding the race positions, who's on average scored higher points per race, and that is what will determine the championship league table. So it's completely out of our power. It's down to the game to decide who on average has had the better results, who has, you know, done better throughout this championship, and that will be the driver who comes out on top.
Okie dokie then. So the top three, as it stands at the moment, is going to be Elliott, McIntyre, and Brennan. The top three will still be Elliott, McIntyre, and Brennan if Brennan gets ahead of Dorman. But either way, at the moment, if it stays like it is at the moment, it's going to be those three at the top. So that's very interesting. So the fourth place battle is still up for grabs, and it's actually the battle that you're about to, well, he's sort of seeing on the circuit at the moment. Zelos, Bugner just ahead of him. That's the battle for fourth place. And Chris Shepard is sort of there or thereabouts as well, but I don't think if he overtakes any of these guys, it's going to be really enough to try and pull them back in. So, and obviously there are no prizes for fourth, fifth, and sixth. So those guys won't really care whether they come fourth, fifth, or sixth. They're just out here to try and have a good time and try and get as high up as they can. We have to, Dave, I've been putting this off because it's really always very difficult in a finale. We have to think about driver of the day. And you guys at home can tell us as well, but we've left it pretty late. So I'm not saying I want a name from you now, Dave, but I'm just saying we need to start thinking about that.
I mean, I'm going to give a name, and I'm going to put it on the table, and I think Elliott has driven the race he needed to drive. He hasn't let the pressure get to him. He has driven it outstandingly to get through the pack in race 2, set consistently the fastest, which I know is not what it's about, but you can't deny he has driven one hell of a race here.
That is true, and he has recovered the points gap as well, because I think Elliott was down in 7th place in the points, or 6th place in the points when we kicked off this evening. I do apologise as well. Tom Farrell, who always keeps me honest, has pointed out that there are prizes for 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, and they are of course the membership prizes. Apologies about that. It's always Dave who goes through those prizes. I always forget about them. But yeah, there are the membership prizes as well.
What you meant is there's no physical prizes.
Yes, exactly. That's what I meant.
Yeah. So as we can see here, I'm just keeping an eye on the timing screens. Brennan last lap wasn't doing enough to close that gap. He's starting to feel the pressure now from Bugner behind. The previous lap before that, Brennan put a stonking lap in and took nearly half a second out of Dorman in front. That last lap, Dorman and Brennan both matched each other. This at the moment is not enough for Brennan. He needs to get closer to Dorman, but now he's got Bugner all over the back of him.
I'll tell you what, if Bugner gets past him, I don't think it does masses amount to the championship, but it could still upset it slightly with Jordan Brennan, especially if he gets tapped into Hawthorns like that. Scott Bugner giving him a little tap into Hawthorns is probably the most dangerous point you can do it on the circuit, and he's not done there. He's trying to get past Jordan Brennan with everything he can muster. Maybe he knows that Dan Zelos behind him, it just doesn't want to slow up at all. But going into the right-hander, I thought that Brennan was going to run out of track there, but to be fair, he kept it on the white line perfectly, and he stays in the lead of this little battle. But I tell you what, I don't think Bugner really needed to do that, Dave, because all he's done is invite Zelos. He slowed both of them up and invited Zelos to come and play, and he is a championship rival at this point.
Yeah, he is, and also Dan Zelos is the driver that at the moment is 2 points ahead of Scott Bugner. So actually Bugner is probably doing everything he can to try and get in front of Brennan to then create that points gap between him and Zelos to bring home 4th place. So it's still very much all to play for here.
Andy Carroll against Brad Smith into Paddock Hill Bend. It looks like Carroll's going to have that position. No, he's not, because he's fired into a wall by a driver who was turning in. Brad Smith in Paddock Hill. This is Zelos, Bugner and Brennan again, but we are on the final lap of the race. So I'm gonna agree with you, Dave. I'm gonna have to say Ryan Elliott. I mean, he came from a long way back in the championship to secure what will be the championship win, as long as he can keep it on the tarmac for the next half a lap. So we'll go with driver of the day for Ryan Elliott. He gets his AOC gaming headset as well as potentially Sim Race 5 as well, but he has to keep it on the black stuff for now to figure that out. Scott Bugner against Jordan Brennan is not done and dusted though, as Brennan defending on Bugner, who gets a massive undercut going down Dingle Dell, and Dan Zelos could be the one to take advantage fully of this. They might force each other off the circuit. Bugner on the inside, and Brennan has lost the back end after touching the grass in his rear left. Brennan goes flying off. Dan Zelos is on the inside of Sterling's, but it's going to be Scott Bugner. But I tell you what it is going to be. It's going to be a championship for Ryan Elliott. Here, as he comes across the line, he takes the checkered flag, he takes the Sim Race 5, he takes an AOC gaming headset, he takes it all in the mini JCW with Jack McIntyre in second place on the road and in the championship as well. He takes over Sim Race 3. Andy Dorman comes home in third. He takes a little bit of pride with Scott Bugner in fourth place. And, well, I won't say what Scott Bugner's won because we're not entirely sure, because we don't know what the championship has done with Jordan Brennan coming all the way down in seventh place. So I won't predict third place. But two things we are fairly sure on, Dan, is our champion and our runner-up.
Yeah, it is indeed. And wow, what a race that just supplied.
Yeah, it was absolutely stunning. It was hard to keep up with at times. I hope everybody at home was loving that as much as we did. We have got a couple of drivers in the driver interview waiting room who we know loved it just as much as we did, if not slightly more. Can you believe it? Dave Marshall, take it away. Talk to our podium sitters and our champion-elect.
Yeah, so we go down to the podium positions to our P3 driver, Andy Dorman, and if I'm completely honest, was my favourite driver for race 2 to possibly take the win. You did a storming effort to try and hold on to that, but just not quite enough. Ryan Elliott got through the pack super quick and just put them aiming dots onto the back of your car and was coming for you, wasn't he, Andy?
Oh, he was. I could tell straight away. As soon as I saw him behind me, I knew he was coming through.
Yeah, and I take it, you know, you had a reasonably good feel in the car. Your pace has been good here all day, but as you said, it just wasn't quite enough to take the fight all the way. But still, a podium finish here in race 2. You must be fairly happy with that.
Oh, I'm really pleased with the podium. I wasn't expecting it, to be fair. I'm a little bit slower than these guys.
Yeah, but what we have noticed is, especially in the JCW this season, you seem to have had quite a big pace increase and really seem to have good grips with the car.
Yeah, I'm really enjoyed it, to be fair.
So I take it we will be seeing you for the Winter Series coming up later on in November, I take it.
Yeah, I think I'll have to enter, I think.
Well, fantastic effort there, Andy. Huge congratulations, bringing it home in P3, and also fantastic to see you starting to get some real pace on the grid here and possibly a real championship contender in the next championship that we do.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Dave.
I'll move forward on our P2 finisher, Jack Mack. I mean, that start really did deliver. I could tell, where in the world do you put your car in that scenario?
Good question. It was, yeah, that was pretty nuts. You could tell we were all real going for it, and yeah, I think the championship was always going to be decided in the first lap or two, maybe even the first half of the first lap. And we got through the first bit of carnage, and I looked down at the relative and saw that Ryan was in second somehow. So yeah. The seas must have parted or something ridiculous, because that's a mega start. I thought I'd done pretty well. But yeah, from there with Ryan ahead, I knew it was just a game of if Andy was going to fight a lot with him and hold them up, maybe I could get close. But Ryan just had too much pace this week, so as soon as he got through, that was a done deal. But yeah, really good championship.
Well, huge congratulations also on taking provisional P2 here in the mini JCW championship. And I tell you what racing it's provided. Fantastic racing there, Jack. A P2 finish, extremely clean racing. Love having you on the grid.
Brilliant. Cheers, guys. See you soon for the grand final.
Yes, indeed. And we'll move forward on our P1 finisher, our championship winner, and also taking driver of the round. Ryan, you finally got all your wishes. 117 points, pulling 6 points clear of anyone in the championship. It was almost like you calculated it.
Oh, where do I even start? Honestly, that is the best win I've ever had. It was just everything went right. The seas parted. I mean, 10th to 2nd place in 3 corners is ridiculous. But mentally, this has just meant the world. I mean, I struggled so much in the last mini series, as I'm sure you probably remember, and to then sort of come back in this one, and now that we're back to fixed setup, show that you know I can do the business. And let's say going into the next mini series back to fixed setup, I think I've got a really good chance. But I don't know what to say. Everything just went right.
So obviously your emotions are running quite high here, but I'm going to ask a bit of an insight question, if you like. As a driver that's got the championship on the line, you've got the speed in the car. When you're sat at a reverse grid in 10th place, when you're starting the race, is your vision all about trying to go forward, or is it just the awareness in trying to just keep it as clean as possible, knowing that you have the pace left in the car?
Any other scenario, it would be sort of be a bit more safe and conservative. I had a couple of points or something, but I knew that obviously we were literally tied and 2 points behind for third, so I had to just send it, and I didn't. To be honest, I didn't even have to send it. I didn't make a single bit of contact all the way through. It just everything just opened up for me. It's just perfect. But you can't picture it any better, really. Like, I don't know how it happened. In 6th place to take the championship lead. Just great. I mean, just want to say massive thank you. I got plenty of thank yous this week. You guys for one running it. Obviously the commentary. Thank you, Jack, Dave, Rich for organising, being the safety car, and obviously running the league itself, and everyone on the grid. I mean, it's been the best sort of 16 weeks I've had in a while. It's been great fun every week. I've not wanted to miss a bit of it, and obviously thanks always Mad for Mini, main sponsor for the series stuff. Mum, Dad, girlfriend Rebecca, Nana and Grandad. I know they'll be watching, but hope I put on a good show for everyone tonight. I hope it was as fun to watch as it was for me to race.
It definitely was indeed, Ryan. Huge congratulations, taking home the championship. And don't forget, driver of the day, you finally get your hands on some of them AOC gaming headphones as well. So them will be on the way as soon as possible. Looking forward to seeing you race with us in the future. And we have got some real exciting things coming up, so stay tuned. Huge congratulations, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you. Can't wait for the showdown.
Neither can all of us.
And that was Dave Marshall talking to not only podium position on the day on race 2. To be honest, I want to come down.
Yeah.
After that adrenaline, it's.
Can I just interrupt on your come down then, Jack?
Yeah, go for it, Rich.
I just want to say, well, firstly, congratulations to Ryan. That was an epic last round for him. So well done, mate. You had a really good race there. But also, I just want to thank everybody that's competed in the League of Champions too. Right the way back in May when we kicked everything off. All the way to now. We've obviously still got our grand finale races to come on the 28th in a couple of weeks' time. But I just want to thank everybody, and I also want to thank Tom for the fantastic broadcasts, and last but very not least, you two for making it even more entertaining than just watching the guys running around. You guys have brought it to life, so thanks very much.
Cheers,
Rich. Making me blush, Dave, isn't he? I've never heard him be so nice. I don't know what's wrong with him. It's clearly that food poisoning he had earlier on. Thank you very much, Rich. Yeah, it's been a sensational series, hasn't it? I mean, I know there are plans, Rich, for taking it forward, sort of thing. Obviously, we've got the finale races, and there are certain things you can't talk about from here on in, sort of thing. I will appreciate that. But we've got still the academy up and running, and we've got the mini challenge coming up, haven't we? So there are plenty of exciting things to be getting involved in VRRC.
I am having to bite my tongue not to talk.
I know you are.
Not
don't worry.
to talk about the things that we've got coming up, but I mean, like you said, we've got TT Cup starting tomorrow for Academy. That's for another 6 weeks, and then the Caterham will run after that. We've got the grand finale race, like we said, on the 28th for the League of Champions, and we have got a action-packed set of sim racing events and championships to take us all the way through the winter, all the way through to beginning of April next year. So we're going to be talking about that soon, and we have, some pretty big announcements to make on some official real world race championships that we are now able to bring to sim racing as well. So really looking forward to announcing that. Can't do it just yet. I don't really want to, but I can't. So gagging to get that released out there, and some other bits and bobs as well that me and Dave and Tom have been working on in the background to make things even better for our community racing with VRRC. So yeah, can't wait. Can't wait.
I won't pry too much, mainly because I don't want to get fired and I want to be able to commentate on those series. So, but yeah, it's very exciting, the future of VRRC. As you saw just earlier on, and we've said a couple of times already, after the race, there are the finale races coming up, and there we go. Tom's brought up the graphic 2 or 3 times. I'll finally give it its due, Tom, for you. The guys who came first to 10th in the overall League of Champions is an overall table that will be released on VRRC socials in the coming days as well. They'll be racing for an AccuForce V2 Pro direct drive wheel and an OBP Esports set of pedals. They're absolutely sensational, by the way. And the AOC 34-inch curved gaming display as well, which is very similar to the one that you may have seen at the beginning of this broadcast. If they're in race 2, that's 11th to 20th place, they'll be having the opportunity to race for the Sim Race 5, the Sim Race 3, and the GT F1 race seat, which normally is in every sort of series, but obviously this race 2 is designed for people who maybe don't necessarily have the opportunity to win those and beat the likes of Jack McIntyre and Ryan Elliott and people like that. So it's going to be awesome. You are wanting to tune in. We got a week break and then it's the finale. Am I right, Rich?
You are right, Jack.
Thank goodness I've filled my calendar in correctly.
So the only thing that we're going to release is the finale races are on the 28th, same time as we on Tuesday, same time as usual, so same time as this broadcast, and that's all we're releasing until the actual day. On the day, we will tell the drivers what circuit it is and which car they are driving.
Fantastic. Makes my job really easy as a commentator to make prep notes for a circuit. I have no idea what's going to happen. No, I'm kidding. Thank you very much, Rich. It's been sensational. Dave, before we close out the stream and obviously the mini JCW challenge, any closing thoughts on what's happened over the past 4 weeks?
I'm good not to be on the grid. That's about it. I mean,
that's your biggest takeaway.
Which driver watching that doesn't want to be there on the grid battling with them drivers as well? Like, regardless of the prizes, the racing is at its core. What fantastic racing respect, clean driving. It's the racing that you want to be part of. Don't get me wrong, I've loved being in the comms box with you, Jack, and looking forward to doing loads more. But as a driver watching it, a little bit of you just wants to be there on the grid as well.
Yeah, you're not wrong, to be fair. It's a reason why I am a commentator, though, is because I couldn't actually be involved in that sort of thing. I'd be too far back, unlike you, as you know. A big thank you to everybody who's tuned in, subscribed, watched, followed, commented, liked, done whatever you've done, engaged in the stream, even if you just unmuted it while scrolling past it on Facebook or YouTube or something like that. It has been a pleasure having you along. Please do tune in to the finale races in 2 weeks' time, because trust me, if today whet your appetite, then next week you'll be able to gorge on the feast that we'll be bringing you in sim racing. It's going to be drama at the highest degree. It's going to be fantastic. A big thanks to everybody who drove as well, and all the organisations behind the screen. Me and Dave, I'm sure, echo Rich's sentiments to Tom O'Fowle, who's been on the broadcast for the entirety of this League of Champions and will continue to be so going forward for VRRC, and he's done a brilliant job with it as well. My name's been Jack Oliphant. Dave Marshall has been my virtual co-commentator for this evening. You've been watching AOC Gaming's League of Champions. Tune in 2 weeks' time for the ultimate esports finale.
Between the two of them, the insider coats, Parker gets too heavily involved, and that's Whitehead and Coates.